Hello and welcome to part 8 of the Godot tower defense tutorial. Thank you for your patience. In today's episode we're going to be looking at how we get these turrets to fire their cannonballs at the targets. At the moment you can see they're not destroying them, but they will very shortly once we finish this tutorial. Firstly, apologies for the delay. I have been in Rome having a little city break. A beautiful place, beautiful city. Very busy, very busy. Book ahead if you ever go there, but I highly recommend going there. A really lovely place. The weather was just about right, just a little bit of rain, but I had a really good time. And obviously had intended to do some Godot research, but managed to forget my laptop charger. So I was unable to do any research on what I wanted to look at, which was the particle elements and getting some explosions. So we won't be covering that today, but we will be doing that shortly. So before I start, I just want to say that the support has continued to be tremendous. So thank you so much. I set a goal, a stretch target to reach 1,000 subscribers by Christmas, and I am just about to hit 900, and honestly I'm thrilled. Thank you so much. There's a lot of love for Godot right now, I think, and that's a good thing because I think it's a really good game engine. I think people are really enjoying it, so thank you for that. Some of you have been particularly well involved, talking to me directly, asking me questions, offering me help with stuff like debugging tools. So no, I won't name names, but you know who you are, so thank you so much. Right, okay, so I will stop gushing now and let's actually get on with the tutorial. Right, so before we start, I think there's a few things I should just mention that I've changed since the previous tutorial. If I go into scripts here on the turret, you can see that I have changed the logic back to the patrolling state, if I can find it here. Originally, we did this. We played around last time with finding the last enemy in range. I've changed that back to the next enemy in range. So I've set it back to kind of the default behaviour. A little discussion on that. If you had any thoughts, maybe you want to have a play around and let me know. I removed a lot of the print statements, so that was getting quite noisy. So if you're wondering where they are, why you're not seeing them in the debugger, that's why. In terms of what I've added now, rather than me go through everything that step by step, I'll show you what I've actually created here. There's still some work to do, but let me just show you where we are with what I've created. I've actually created a little cannonball here, a cannonball scene. Okay, and it's not much. It's an area 2D with a cannonball. It's got a collision shape 3D there, which is the collision itself, and a mesh, which is just simply a CSG sphere, which I've done a material override of black. Do excuse me, I seem to have a bit of a sore throat. I hope I'm not coming down with anything. Don't worry, COVID is not contagious over the internet, so I'm told. What else have I done? Let's have a little look at the script for the cannonball. This isn't particularly difficult. It's not doing very much. It's got a starting position and it's got a target. And you'll notice that's a node 3D there, not a global position. And the reason for that is that the target is going to move. So this cannonball is going to do a bit of a weird thing. It's going to follow the trajectory of the enemy, which may look a bit weird, but because we're going at quite a speed, I don't think it's going to be that noticeable. And the range is so short that you're not really going to see it turn or anything like that. We have a speed, that's the cannonball speed there, and we are lerping from the starting position to the target. Okay, and that's so we start at 0. In terms of the ready function, you can see all I've done here is have a global position equals starting position. Not 100% sure if that's necessary, because what I've done down here is I've said if the target is not equal to null, so we're just doing a double check to make sure that the enemy hasn't gone and done a Q3 and removed itself from the scene, and the lerp position is less than 1. Right, so while we're still lerping, and what we've just said here is global position equals starting position dot lerp, or see. And then target towards the target global position and the current lerp pos, and then we increase lerp pos delta times speed. So we're going to, the higher that value is there, the quicker it's going to get to 1. So 2, I believe, means it's going to reach it in half a second. I think that's correct. And if it's greater than 1 or the target's disappeared, we just remove the cannonball. Simple enough, right? Now, what I've actually done, you'll notice here that I've called this projectile, not cannonball. My thinking is that this could be used by other turrets. There's no reason that another turret, perhaps that fires arrows, could do something, could use this very same script. So I've kept it as a projectile rather than just the cannonball, and maybe we could extend it or do something like that. So that's attached to that. And if I go to the turret now, what you'll see under the on attacking state entered, okay, what we're doing here is we're adding a last fire time equals 0. So that's what we're saying here is actually set the clock to when the engine actually started the game. Okay, so that's actually at 0. We actually say, as we were before, looking at the current enemy.global position, and then we're running this function called _maybe fire. And if we have a quick look at maybe fire down here, what it's saying is if time.getTicks in milliseconds is greater than the last fire time, which is 0 plus fire rate milliseconds. And let's just spin up to the very top here. Let's just have a look at some of the variables we've got up here. We've got, these are the new ones, right? So we've got the last fire time, which we set to 0 a few moments ago. We've got the fire rate in milliseconds. So this is how often it fires. And 1000 is every 1000 milliseconds, so a second. And we've also got a reference to the projectile type that's going to be fired at the target. Okay, so if we spin back down to maybe fire, okay, you can see what it's going to do is it's going to say, well, okay, if the time is greater than the last fire time plus the fire rate, we will instantiate that projectile. And one thing I've realized now is that it's quite good, as long as you don't add the child to the scene, you can set the variables. You cannot here have an init statement, so you can't run a constructor. So you've got to think about that. The instantiate does create a new a new instance of the projectile, of which, by the way, I have added up here. Let's just make sure we say that projectile type here, right? And so if I go into my if I just click on the turret itself, okay, click on here, you can see that we've got the projectile type there. And what I actually just did was I grabbed the scene, which was my new cannonball scene, and I just dragged that into the projectile type there like that. Okay, so you can see that's how it knows to instantiate the cannonball and also the fire rate, which we can change, possibly put that in a resource very, very shortly. Okay, so but if we go back to maybe fire, it's instantiating it, it's setting its starting position to the projectile spawn.global position. So where's that come from? Well, what I've done is I've added under here, if I show you under the cannon here, I've added a projectile spawn node 3D, which is literally just a empty, nothing in it. So it's at the front of the cannon. So when the script looks here, we just get that projectile spawn.global position, and then we set the target to the current enemy that we're looking at. Then we add it. And then finally, we say last fire time equals time.getTicks milliseconds. This is a very common way to fire at a regular rate. Now, we could have used a timeout or something like that. I find this to be a little bit better, cleaner. I did play around with that. I also played around with trying to use the state chart delays, but I found that a little bit fiddly as well. So I didn't use that. So all of that's done is everything we need. If we just now go over to here, and what we'll actually see if we run it is that if we drag this on here, once it's acquired the target, it begins firing at it. Now, I'm not happy with how low it's firing, and I think that's because I think the enemies are offset slightly from the ground, whereas this is actually aiming directly at the ground, I believe, where the actual turret is. So I could adjust that. I'm not going to adjust it just yet. So you can see that it's firing away quite happily, and when it doesn't reach the target, it moves on to the next one. I wanted to show you what it looked like when it reaches the end. A bit of a weird thing happens. I might want to have a think about cleaning this up, but you'll see as they disappear, the cannonballs kind of still fire towards it and then disappear. Can you see that now? So I think what I might have to do is think about how maybe perhaps if they're in the what do you call it, despawning state, then perhaps have a flag on them or something like that. The problem that we have at the moment is the current enemy is if I spin back to our enemy over here, is the actual area 3D that we're heading towards. You may remember that from a few tutorials ago, that's what we're actually aiming at, not the enemy 01 script here, which would allow us to do a few things, like perhaps have a variable called despawning, right? Which is bool and set equals false, right? And then what we could say is if it's doing that, then check. Now we could sort of bounce things around. I'm not going to do that just yet. Too complicated. I'm just going to stick with what we've got, which is aiming at the area 3D. But it's not actually destroying any of those enemies right now. And the way I think we need to do this is what we're going to do on the cannonball here is if I go back to 3D and then go on the cannonball here under the collision layers, right? It's got collision layer 1. I'm going to set this to 3 and I'm going to rename this layer as projectiles. Okay, and I'll just unclick that, and it's not looking for anything. So this is going to travel on layer 3, and therefore, as I rename that, I did, didn't I? Projectiles. And what we'll do in our enemy script is we will add on the area 3D. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to script here. I'm going to add a signal that that will fire when a projectile comes in. So the other thing we need to check on the area 3D is it's on layer 2, which makes sense because that's the layer that the turrets are looking at. But also now we're going to set the mask to 3. So this is the layer that it's watching on. All right. So anything that comes in on the mask layer 3 will once in a moment we will see it fire a signal. So what we can do here is we can say area entered, I think is the one. Emitted when the received area enters this area. There we go. So we'll connect this to the enemy 01 on area 3D area entered. And let's just put this here. Print hit exclamation mark. Okay, so let's just see how that goes. It's going to be a little bit difficult because it's going to be hard to know which one's hit, but at least we should be able to see now that they're showing that they're getting hit. Let's have a little look and see if that works. So if we just spin over here, down to the left, hit. This is good. That one's getting hit. We don't know which one it is, but we're off to a very, very good start there, aren't we? Okay, we don't have any damage on the projectile or anything like that, so let's have a little think about that. Let's go back to the cannonball here, and we'll have let's have an export var as well here. At export var damage of type, I want to say float, but I'm going to make it an int equals 20. Okay, so it's not bad. And then under our enemy, we'll have a variable up here called let's do it here. Actually, we've already got the enemy settings here, type enemy settings, haven't we? So let's have a quick look at that and see what that is. 1 second. Basic enemy settings. So now if I click on that inspector, we got a health of 100. Lovely. So that's already set up for us. Thank you when we did the resources. So that's excellent. So what we can now do here is work out how much damage that projectile did. So if we just go back to our here and then say on area 3, this is the one here, isn't it? So the area, let's just print the area, and we should see that that's we should see that the hit is showing as a projectile. I hope it will anyway. Let's just pull that down. Cannonball, there we go. Cannonball, right? Okay, so what we can now do in our in our enemy script, basic enemy script here, is we're going to say print area dot, what was it? It was projectile damage. Okay, so let's just go back here to the enemy script and then print area dot damage. I think that we'll get away with this because it's duck typing. It's assuming that this type of area does have a damage value. Let's just see. There we go, 20. Now we're getting away with, I don't love this. Okay, so what we can do is we can say, oh, by the way, I did just notice that the enemy was doing that funky thing again. I don't know why it's doing that. It's because I need to go back to the enemy and remove and hide that there, so you can't see it initially, which is a bit annoying. That annoys me again. Please, if anybody knows what the answer to that is, please let me know. So now if we go in, we can actually do a little check here to say, right, is it a projectile? So let's do that. We're going to say if area is a projectile, that will just say print brackets area dot damage. So that's a little bit safer now because we know that the projectile has got a damage variable. So let's just now click on play now. That should also work as well. Let's bring that in there. There we go. So you can see it's doing a double check to say, right, well, I'm not going to look for damage unless it's a projectile. Now, this is the sort of thing that just keeps it a little bit safer. You might end up putting something on layer 3 by mistake and blowing it up and not being sure why. So this is good. So now what we can now do is say enemy settings dot health minus equals area dot damage. Okay, and then we'll just say if enemy. Let's just do this. Let's just put it. I'm feeling that something's going to go wrong here. If enemy settings dot health is less than or equal to 0, Q3. I think that enemy settings might be consistent to all. It's not unique to this instance. I would just want to double check that. Let's see. So now we're saying is less than or equal to 0, Q3. So let's just give this a go and see if this works. We might have to increase the healths actually. Let's set it to something like 60, so it definitely destroys it in two pops. Yeah, so 2 hits should now destroy it. Let's run it and see. I like it when I like these ones. I like these little double curves like that. Right. Let's see. Okay, we got problems. Let's have a little look and see what's going on. I can see why. There we go. Do that. Sorry about that. Okay, and while we're at it, let's just get rid of these, shall we? Let's just put underscores here just to tidy this up. Okay, that should clean out any errors. Always a good idea. Pardon me. It's gone. Yeah, you see the problem. It's disappearing straight away. It's not taking 2 hits. So I think what we need to do is we need to, under our enemy here, basic enemy, we'll need to have a new variable. We'll just put it here. We may need to copy these down, right? So we'll just have here, we'll say var enemy health. And just in ready here, enemy health equals enemy settings dot health. Okay, so that should make it a unique because it's a type int. Let's make sure we do that. I know a few of you have kept an eye on me for that. So now hopefully it won't disappear straight away. Come on. What's wrong? Of course, slight error, although I don't think it's actually that problem. But if we do need to go to the basic enemy again, and when the hit occurs, is change the enemy health. So on area 3D entered, no, so it's enemy health. But I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem was actually that we may have a condition sometimes when maybe it loses. It's just a bad timing. Now that's not deleting. Okay, so let's have a quick look. So yes, indeed. So we'll say if enemy health here. Sorry. Like that. Okay. There you go. That's taking 2 hits. Now, obviously, this looks kind of crappy right now, doesn't it? It looks, they're just disappearing. And they are way too easy. So let's just do a little bit of tuning, shall we? So under our projectile, let's just set that to 20. Now if we run it, I mean obviously this isn't going to make. We need to do a lot of tuning, but at least maybe we can. There you go. So now you see that'll fire. We need. Let's just have one over here-ish or something like that. And obviously at the moment they're completely free, so we can plant as many as we like down here. Yeah, see, hopefully some of these are going to get away from these guys. Yeah, see this guy, there you go. So this guy's finishing some of them off as well. Blooming marvellous. So we've got projectiles firing and destroying our, destroying our enemy aliens. And I might have a little play with that and tweak it just to get it to something sensible, so it looks like they're going to make their way around. But I think for now, that's going to summarize this chore. We've got a few things to do. I want to make it so that there's a little bit of muzzle flash that comes out when they fire the cannon. I want to add some sounds. I want the enemies to explode when they are destroyed. Okay, so these are some things that we will look at in the next tutorial. I'm trying to keep these brief, so I hope that's brief enough for you. I hope you watched it all the way through. Appreciate if you do, because that really helps my my numbers. Until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Shark out.